Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Okay, David Bond. Chad Bauer.
Here.
Susan Lockwood. Here. James Walton.
Here.
Mayor Butcher.
Here. All right, approval of meeting minutes for February 10th, 2025 regular meeting.
We'll move the minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right. Roll call, please.
Oh, you can do it.
Sure. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
And then approve and hold the executive.
Oh, right, approve and hold of executive session.
I'll move the executive session minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion
Police chief's report.
Hello, everybody. It's okay. Entered into the county CAD system was 466 incidents that took place over the month of February for Delaware Township. 48 of those were motor vehicle stops, 26 of those resulted in a summons. Currently we have 24 radar posts throughout the town, which we try to sit in, break up, when we can. We have currently 37 property checks, which we normally do in the evening. People are away, things like that, out of town. There were 16 wire or pole incidents, 14 trees down in the roadway this month. And special thanks to Justin and his team, because most of it happens at night, and those guys are on it. No problem. Road department has never run any smoother, and I've been here 30 years.
Yeah.
On 220, a couple highlights now, just some things that happened this month. On the 20th, 4:15 a.m., a 34-year-old Flemington man was traveling south on Route 29, failed to negotiate a curve at the intersection of Brookville Hollow and 29. As a result, he struck the guardrail, causing serious head injuries, and unfortunately, he died because of those injuries. On the 22nd, we recovered a stolen vehicle out of Phillipsburg. The driver was charged with hindering apprehension, as well as the theft of the motor vehicle. On the 25th, officers responded to a residence in the township for a presumed heroin overdose. Upon arrival, the victim was found to be unconscious and unresponsive. Officers administered Narcan, which revives people from heroin incidents. And the victim was transported to the medical center. Drug paraphernalia and other narcotics were seized and are on their way to the lab for testing. On the 5th, a wire came down. This is this month, but wire came down at the intersection of Lower Creek and 519 and caused a pretty substantial fire, which caused the power to be out in Rosemont until about 11:30 that night. Wire came down at 1 o'clock. Just an upcoming event, distracted driving is the month of April, so everybody just be aware if you're on your phone. And a lot of people don't understand, if you just have this in your hand, it's a violation. So if you're looking for directions, listening, talking, speaker, holding it in your hand, violation. A lot of people don't understand that. First offense, $200 to $400. Second offense, $400 to $600. Third offense, $600 to $800 that's going to cost you. And 3 points on the third offense. And it's all a mandatory court appearance, even the first one. So do your best to stay on hands-free.
And you can't plea bargain.
Right. Yeah. An incident that keeps coming up a lot is the animals that are down here on 523. We got a lot of calls about it, mainly because it's right on 523 and everybody can see it.
My backyard.
Right. Whether I agree with the animals or anybody agrees with the way the animals are being taken care of, it's been investigated by our humane officer, the prosecutor's humane officer, and the State Board of Ag has been out there many times with their vet as well. They said everything is, at least meets the minimum requirements for the animals. Now the minimum, you know, nobody wants the minimum, but until you can do anything about it, they have to go below the minimum. So at this point, they're all meeting the minimum requirements. So
What
unfortunately,
animals are there still? Are the pigs still there? Because I can't see them. Do you know?
I don't know. I see the little horses and the big
Yeah,
horse.
and the donkeys.
Yeah, but I'm not sure.
Oh.
But they do have water. I get calls all the time that the horse is dead because it happens to be laying down. It's not dead. It does have water. It has an automatic feeder, and it does get hay, you know, and grain. I don't know what else, but it's all been. They've looked into it a million times. So, just so you know, that could change.
Is there any chance, we have tried repeatedly to get an ordinance that you can't just leave animals alone, you must have somebody living on the property? Would the police support that?
Well, I guess I would support that if it wasn't in violation of a state law. If the state law says you can do that, then we're out of luck. I don't know about that. I'd have to look into that.
Okay.
I don't know if you can do that, but if you could do that, you know, it would be fair, I guess.
Yeah, it would
Yeah,
stop.
or at least be in the process of something being built, or, you know.
Right.
But I know that's a big deal for I get a lot of calls about it, so.
Could the attorney look into that?
I could look into it.
Okay.
I'll look into it and
Appreciate that.
I'll report back.
Yeah,
next
because I do, I do feel sorry for them. You know,
Yeah,
And there's nothing I can do.
yeah, true.
I mean, Jan has offered to take the horse, I mean. there's all
Everybody's
sorts of
offered to
things.
take
Yeah.
the horse and everything, but, yeah, don't steal it. People have said they're gonna go steal it. Don't
No.
steal it. The only other thing I have, is, and I think Justin would back me up on this, if there's ever any incidents or issues that come up, call one of us directly, instead, because I see a lot of stuff on Facebook. A lot of it's not true, or, you know, the stop sign's down somewhere, we may not know about it, and somebody's complaining about the fact the stop sign's down, yet they didn't make a call to us. So I would just ask for your first stop to be either myself or Justin if it's a road situation or a dangerous situation, or if there's a, you know, speed, anything that does to do with the police department or the road department. Just, you know, I would just encourage everybody to try and start with us, and then we'll go from there. Because sometimes I see things that, you know, people are complaining about the stop sign's been down for days, and we don't even know about it, you know, so
Yeah.
we'll take care of it immediately if we find out that it happened. But that's pretty much it. Does anybody have any other questions or anything I can help with? Okay.
All right, thank you, Chief Kenny.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, next up is DPW report. Justin?
All right, responded to 14 down trees in town, removed brush and logs from the sides of the roads of town. We hauled out 2 cardboard dumpsters and 1 mixed recyclable. We continued blowing leaves from the drainage ditches in town. Started fixing any plow damage we created in town with the snow events. We started working on our townwide sign survey, replacing signs, straightening signs, and adding some signs to roads. We replaced 2 street signs on Stone Side Post Road, one on Lockdown Flemington, the other one on 579. Clean catch basin tops throughout town. Continued with our Tier A stormwater catch basin and head grate replacement. Started filling some potholes in town. We had 3 snow and ice events in the past month where we had to either plow, salt roads, and clean township sidewalks. We checked roads and salt where needed daily. And we fixed any vehicle issues we had from the snowstorms. Recycling clean communities. I attended the county SWAC and recycling meeting. I also attended the monthly JIF meeting. Also, we had a walkthrough at Diltz Park and discussed some of the improvements that are going to be happening there. Met with the Stormwater Committee, and we discussed some of the community outreach to comply with our Tier A stormwater regulations. And And townwide cleanup day is coming up April 19th. Permits will be available April 1st at the police station. That's it.
Cool. Thank you, Justin. Anybody have any questions? All right, thank you. All right, public comment on agenda items only. 3 minutes per person. Please come on. You got.
Yeah, Chuck Klein, there's 2 items on the,
Or, sorry, Chuck, could you come up? Sorry.
all right? 2 items on the consent agenda. I was asking a question about the event that you're going to give a permit to. What are those events?
Bicycle events.
Sorry?
Bicycle events.
They're both bicycle events? Okay. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, I've been in this township for 80 years, and I think Justin has done a fantastic job this year in cleaning the roads, making sure that they're safe, and also picking up the logs and the brush along my road, and I'm sure a lot of the other roads. And I think, I just want it on the record that I think he's doing a good job.
Thanks, Chuck, thank you. Agreed. And I hear it all over town. So thanks, great work. Anyone else? Judy?
Judy Allen. I was curious whether or not in the future, attached to the agendas at the back of the table, if you could also attach the resolutions you're going to approve tonight, because we don't really know what you're approving. We might have a comment on it. We don't know until we read the resolutions. So there could perhaps be a packet with the resolutions and ordinances stapled to the agenda, so we all know what's being voted on. That'd be great.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, thank you. Moving on, public hearing adoption of ordinances. We're going to start with ordinance 2025-01, calendar year 2025 ordinance to extend municipal budget appropriation limits and establish a cap bank. Sorry. All right. Any discussion?
This is a public hearing, so you're gonna motion.
Okay, so we have a motion.
I'll move that we open the ordinance to public hearing.
What's that?
All in favor?
Oh, I didn't know if there was any discussion first.
No, you have to open.
Okay, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
And then we're all,
go for it. Any discussion?
we're open for public comment.
Public comment, sorry.
Hearing.
Sorry.
See.
Well, then I'll propose that question to you people. Any questions, comments?
Seeing none.
Seeing none?
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second. All right. All good. All in favor? Aye.
I move that we approve the ordinance.
We have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
I need a
No,
roll
this
call.
you need roll call for. Ordinances and resolutions need a roll call.
Right. Roll call, please.
Okay. David Bond, Chad Bauer,
Yes.
Susan Lockwood,
Yes.
Joseph Fogey,
Yes.
and James Walton.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So ordinance 2025-02, an ordinance to amend the code of the Township of Delaware, County of Hunter, and State of New Jersey. Sorry, title of Township, please. Sorry.
Chapter 93.
Chapter 93. I'm usually skip through this. So that's it? That's all it's-
Entitled Township Committee.
Entitled Township Committee. I feel like I was like missing some words on
No,
here,
that's
sorry.
it. That's it.
Okay. All right. So,
I'll make a motion to open ordinance 2025-02 to public hearing. I'll second that.
any discussion, or all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any discussion from the public?
What is the ordinance? All it says is entitled Township Committee.
That's what I was saying, yeah. Now I'm
Well,
trying to
it was
remember which
linked
one
to
it
the
was.
agenda.
Oh,
And
sorry.
it's available for,
All right.
Okay, sorry.
it's on the website. It's available
I
for print out,
understand.
it's hanging on the bulletin board, and I linked it now. So this is the one where we were changing the wording so that it didn't say we had to hold our reorg on January 1st.
Is
And-
it first week?
It's the first 7 days. And then we also still had language that said we had 2 meetings per month and that they were at 8 p.m. So we had to break all that. That's all.
Just ask one.
All right,
I'll make the motion to close ordinance 2025-02 to the public hearing.
Second.
do I have a motion to move it?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now,
Now do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
a second?
Thank you. Roll call?
Okay, David Vaughn, Chad Bauer,
Yes.
Susan Lockwood,
Yes.
James Waltman,
Yes.
and Mayor Copeland.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Ordinance 2503, an ordinance to amend the Code of Township of Delaware, County of Hunter, and State of New Jersey, Chapter 190 thereof entitled Fees by deleting and repealing. So basically, this is changing some of the fees, removing reference to the zoning code, kind of just changing some of the language. That's fine. All right, so, do I have a motion?
It relates to escrow. Mainly relating to escrow.
Yes, thank you.
But is this a public hearing or?
No,
these
this
are
is
all
an
introductions.
introduction, so this is a motion to
Yeah.
introduce and set the
Sorry.
public hearing date for April 14th.
Okay. I'll move the ordinance.
I'll second.
Any discussion on this one? No, I'm good. Okay. All right, roll call, please.
David Vaughn, Chad Bauer,
Yes.
Susan Lockwood,
Yes.
James Waltman,
Yes.
Mayor Copeland.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Ordinance 2025-04, an ordinance to amend the Code of the Township of Delaware, County of Hunter, and State of New Jersey, Chapter 158 thereof entitled Construction Codes Uniform, and amend Section 3 Fees.
Motion to introduce and set the public hearing for April 14th, 2025.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Roll call.
Sorry, roll call.
Dave Vaughn, Chad Bauer.
Yes.
Susan Lockwood.
Yes.
James Waltman.
Yes.
Joseph Bogan.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Ordinance 2025-05, an ordinance to amend the Code of the Township of Delaware, County of Hunter, and State of New Jersey, Chapter 162 thereof entitled Construction Record Clearance to amend Section 6 Fees.
I make a motion to introduce and set the public hearing for April 14th at 7:30 p.m.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Okay, David Vaughn, Chad Bauer.
Yes.
Susan Lockwood,
Yes.
James Waltman,
Yes.
Joseph Bogan.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
2025-06, an ordinance to amend the Code of Township of Delaware, County of Hunter, and State of New Jersey, Chapter 230 thereof entitled Land Use to amend Section 140 Miscellaneous Application Fees.
I think it was 2025-05, Joe. I apologize.
No, it's at 6. It's on the next page.
Oh, my apologies. I'm sorry, sir. I will make a motion to introduce and set the public hearing for April 14th. Second.
Roll call, please.
David Vaughn, Chad Bauer,
Yes.
Susan Lockwood,
Yes.
James Waltman,
Yes.
Joseph Bogan.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
All right, so next we have the consent agenda, so let me know if anyone wants anything pulled. So we have Resolution 25-49, authorizing the mayor to sign deer management agreement. So this is for Ed Fleming to be able to hunt on the premises. 25-50, authorizing non-fair and open contract, fourth round housing element and fair share plan. This is because we hired a planner and now we need to put the plan together. So authorize that. 25-51. Reappointing Director of Public Works upon completion of probationary period. So this is because Justin was hired on a one-year probationary period. This is to give him another year contract. 25-52, authorizing tax payment refund. So this is a tax collector ordinance just to pay the refund, basically. 25-53, hiring electrical subcode inspector. So our inspector is retiring, so this is to hire replacement. 25-54, authorizing hiring a police officer. So this is hiring a police officer that will go through the academy, I understand?
Yes.
Sounds good. All right, 25-55, authorizing participation in the State Department and redevelopment plan. So basically, that's right, yeah, so Bob was involved with this one, right? So basically, I think we're just kind of letting the county know what's going on with this. Bob, did you have anything to add for this one? For,
It's the planning, you're not the planning office, are you?
Yes,
You are.
I am.
Sorry.
Basically, you want me to come up?
if you want to explain, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I didn't know if you had anything to say about this one.
Essentially, the State Office of Planning Advocacy has written a new state plan. The last state plan, I think, was 2001. What you're looking at tonight is essentially that if there's any differences between the state plan and the municipal plans, the county planning office is the negotiating agent between the two agencies. And this is just saying that, in your opinion, the township master plan is essentially in compliance with the state goals. The state goals are pretty much unchanged from the previous plan, and the mapping is completely unchanged in terms of the PA 1 through 5 development areas.
All right, thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
I'm assuming that the planning board or the planner looked at our plan and looked at the new state plan in order to make this finding.
I
that
did
we're-
consult with Chairman Wesley, yes,
Okay,
and they have no comments at this time. So this is like a first step in this whole thing. so.
right, because usually, I mean, there's cross-acceptance.
So they've changed the cross-acceptance plan. The head of OPA was the previous Somerset County planner and had been through the previous cross-acceptance plan and has been a great influence on making it a lot more streamlined. You no longer have to say how your plans are in compliance, you're just saying how they're different. We also had an intern through OPA in our office that went through all the municipal planning documents, the farm plans, everything for every municipality. And sort of we charted ahead of time any red flags that we saw, and we didn't. So this is just sort of following up.
Great.
Thanks, Bob.
Absolutely.
All right. All right. Next up, Resolution 2556, authorizing issuance of special event permit, Flemington Jewish Community Center for the bike ride. 2557, that's Arbor Day proclamation, discussed last time. 2558, authorizing mayor to sign agreement with Teamsters Union. So I guess Sue and Jamie were negotiating, everything's all wrapped up there. 2559, authorizing issuance of special event permit, so this is also another bike one. All right, so anyone need anything pulled for discussion? Good?
I'll move the consent agenda. Second?
Favor, roll call please.
Okay, David Bond, Chad Bauer.
Yes.
Susan Lockwood.
Yes.
James Walton.
Yes.
And Joseph Wood.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
All right, number 11, resolution 2560, authorizing payment of municipal obligations.
In the amount of $2,491,218.52.
Thank you.
So moved. Second?
Roll call please.
Okay, David Bond, Chad Bauer.
Yes.
Susan Lockwood.
Yes.
James Walton.
Yes.
Mayor Wood.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Next up is new business. So acknowledge receipt of tax collector's 2024 annual report. So we have that. Accept the retirement of Peter Buchanan, our electrical inspector. Acknowledge that and thank you for your service. Friends of Lockdown Stone Church, portable toilet request, that's being discussed as well. Next up, correspondence, the Recreation Commission 2025 Summer Rec Program. So, yep, we're good? Okay. All right.
Oh, regular public?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I hear you. Since you pointed out to me that the links are here for these things, if a person doesn't have access to the links, computer access, how would they get this information?
They come in and request a copy from me.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's all I want to know is how to get it if I don't have it.
Yep. Or they could view it on the bulletin board if they don't want a copy.
Okay.
There's no fee for it.
So, I mean, I'm sorry, I know it's public time, but we have this under new business, we have this request from Friends of Lockdown Stone Church, are we not discussing?
I asked them to discuss.
Okay, you're asking the public to.
No, we moved on to public comment.
If you want to go back to it, yeah.
Well, I guess my point is, there's a request in here that, for the township committee. This letter is asking the township committee to provide portable toilet facilities. We didn't answer their request, I guess is my point, or not.
Okay, you want to discuss it, we'll go back.
You want to finish public comment and then go back to
Sure,
that?
however we want to do it, that's fine.
That's fine. Double it.
So,
So I just state your name.
Tim Saltis, 9 Rittenhouse Road.
No more ideas.
I take it back. I don't live at 9 Rittenhouse Road.
There you go.
So,
Oh my, sorry. I pushed the button. Stop. My apologies. That was your introduction.
Not only do I not live at 9 Rittenhouse Road, my name's not Tim Saltis. For those who
My
don't know me.
apologies.
So I just so we are open for public comment regarding agenda items.
No.
Agenda-
No, anything you want.
Anything you want.
Anything.
Okay.
We're the second public comment section.
So, under correspondence, Recreation Commission, Recreation Program, can we discuss that? I'd like to discuss what the correspondence was specifically and what the outcome is of that. That's why I'm here tonight. So,
This is the request to expand.
No.
yeah, I'd like to open up the floor to the correspondence from the Recreation Commission.
Yeah, to
So
expand.
could you read the correspondence?
You want me to read the whole
So we
thing?
discuss it,
That's
yeah.
fine, yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Delaware Township Recreation Commission is planning a summer recreation program in 2025 at Delaware Township Schools. The goal is to expand the program from 3 to 4 weeks, starting Monday, July 7th, to Friday, August 1st. There will be an optional before care opportunity from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. The program will run from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The Commission respectfully requests the Township Police Department coordinated patrols to include routine stops at DTS, accepting, of course, the time needed to address unexpected emergencies in the township. This assistance will address any safety concerns as well as promote excellent and important community policing and outreach opportunities. Please include this request in March 10th Township Committee agenda. I don't really know why this is being discussed in public for safety purposes, but we can discuss it in public for safety anyway. But, okay, so do you want to discuss requests, or do you have anything more to add? Tim?
I don't have anything else to add. I just wanted to bring it up for conversation.
Okay. So we want to discuss when the patrols are coming through, when the kids are there, I don't think it's a good idea, but whatever.
Not when, but is that going to happen?
Like, you're asking what exact time they're coming through?
No, is it going to happen? Is
You're
that possible?
seeking requests, you're seeking permission to expand this.
Yeah, so I guess that
Letter says.
I guess that this is not we're trying to expand the recreation program.
Right.
And we don't want to spend the money necessarily to hire another resource officer.
Right.
So we are just, as I said, trying to expand the recreation program to include a before care and an aftercare component.
Okay.
Better serve the community.
So that's fine with us, especially.
I think that needs to be taken under advisement with the chief, because we do have a human resource issue at the police department that I don't want to.
You should not discuss
Yeah.
that now.
So, we can.
And the summer recreation program is going to be expanded, which is going to be great. It's a great program that serves the entire community. Everybody loves it. We've added an extra week over the last couple of years. It's fantastic.
If it can be done, I'm all for it, but it really comes down to manpower.
Yeah. And, you know, there's the whole question of an EMT, there's lots of other facets to it. So.
Sure.
Tim, when is the before care supposed to start? And that's when the summer.
Yeah, so it actually,
9 a.m. to 10, 9 to 10 a.m.
Academy starts at 8, okay.
Yeah, so it crosses over with summer academy. Yeah. The building's gonna be really big this summer.
Right.
And our,
Anything else? Good?
I would like to discuss the bridge.
just
Yes, just Stahl.
Thank you.
So the bridge newsletter comes out 4 times a year. Township pays for it. I would think that the news that goes in the bridge would be information for every resident, such as who's running for office. So last year, I was running with 2 other women. We asked to have our bios added to the bridge, and we're told no, because there were 2 other people running, and you didn't have the information for them, which could have been easily collected. So,
Actually, we don't do anything political with the bridge at all. You
Okay.
get your name listed,
So,
everybody's name, because
hold up,
please. I mean, no politics.
hold
in the
up,
bridge.
please, I got 3 minutes.
Okay.
So in addition to that, the Rec Commission wrote an article that was supposed to be, that we asked to be published in the bridge. It was completely cut, and the information that we needed to be in the bridge was not in the bridge. Information such as, we might not be holding any of these events. And all of that information was taken out, and only events with the dates were put in the bridge.
With a note
So-
to please contact anyone in advance to make
Okay, but that's not at all what our article
Well-
was supposed to convey. So my question is, the township pays for this newsletter, which is our taxpayer money, which is $7,100 a year. And Sue, you are on the township committee and you are the editor. Is that a conflict of interest? No? If you're the one determining what articles go into the bridge and you cut information that should have been given to the residents,
I'm sorry.
I would consider that a conflict of
There's a case where the
interest.
township committee decided what went into that.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Who makes the call on
Well,
what goes
with
into the
that-
bridge and who cuts the articles?
We, 99% of the time, it's a matter of space. This time, basically, the township committee did not believe that your information was accurate. The information basically said that the township committee had changed its funding process, and that's why these things might not occur. And we know that's not correct. We haven't changed the funding
The
process.
purchasing process has 100% changed, and that's why we are having difficulty planning events. So the egg hunt is not going to happen, the fishing derby is most likely not going to happen. So how are you gonna communicate this information, other than now residents are gonna have to remember, like, oh, let me go check the township website to see if this is happening?
Sue, I
You're gonna
thought
look
we.
like a bunch of a-holes when a lot of parents with kids show up with buckets at Dilts, and nothing's
Could I just say something real quick?
Sure.
I thought we had set up a protocol where the newsletter would be distributed to all the township committee members for our approval, since it is in fact, and
No, we
a
had actually
newspaper.
set up a process, if the mayor wanted to see it, the mayor would get it in advance, not the entire township.
See, I thought,
Never.
Well, that's, being that it's coming from the committee, I would think that the entire committee should have access to,
Well, if the
and,
entire committee is going to be, you know, the clerk sees the newsletter.
I know, but the township
The
committee,
clerk
I mean, we're the governing body of the.
So here's, let me just say, I never leave anything out, but we don't do politics. So I'm not running, you know, bios of people running for office. You get your name in there.
Which, why would you not, you didn't even put our names in. How else would anyone know who we are if we're running for Board of Ed? It's not a political position.
Excuse me, but all you had to do was tell me. You never told me. I didn't know that. I didn't leave that out because I was trying to keep you all out of the newsletter. I didn't have the full slate.
Listen, I would recommend that the bridge from now on, maybe put a disclaimer that this is paid for by the township and who is making the call on what articles go in. Because I think it's a bunch of BS that we ask for something to be printed in there and then you just cut it.
And again,
That's not appropriate.
to the township committee, we had that conversation here, and the township committee did not change the process for funding. So, and that's what the article said. So I could have, and again, we put in there, you know, check ahead of time, but we did not change the process. We didn't change the process. The process has been the process. Perhaps it's being perceived differently, applied differently, but we didn't change that process. And that's all that I removed because I did not believe that was accurate. And I was here and you were here and we said, no, that's not accurate.
I do recall the conversation that we had that we couldn't change the process because of the advisement of the auditor.
And so to tell people that somehow we were causing them to not have these events, I didn't.
I understand your position and why you did that. I just think that we do need to be all on the same page because Chad and I had been working independently with the rec commission to try to
I heard that.
figure out a solution to this problem that we have regarding the purchasing orders in order to simplify the process, so, et cetera. So unfortunately, I think without our knowledge in what was actually put in the news, in the bridge, it makes it look like it's coming from all of us, and that's why.
I'm happy to let you see what the original article that I was given said, and what I did, because all I did was take out the front part.
Well, then you should have contacted one of us and told us that we were
That
cutting
I
it.
agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Because now
That I
the
agree.
entire
All right, why don't we
article
move
about the
on?
rec
So,
commission stuff is inaccurate.
I understand where Sue's coming from. Maybe from now on, the township committee will take a look at it.
I have never done that before, I'll tell you right now. I don't edit like that, because most of the time there's nothing to edit.
It should be called the covered bridge anyway, not the bridge.
Guys, just
Okay, all right, was there any other unrelated comments? All right.
Go ahead, Joe.
You want to go? All right. Mario Russo. First off, want to echo Chuck's comments about Justin. I think everything's been moving great, so thank you, Bob. The other thing, I know you guys moved the committee reports to after public comment, but I know we have something on the DTMUA with the construction department here, just kind of alerting us when somebody puts a permit in. NSU is the company that licenses the water plant for us and the tower. They have to get approvals when somebody installs their water and stuff like that. There's just like a lack of communication between the construction department when these permits are applied and the DTMUA to let NSU know, hey, you gotta go out there and check the plumbing, make sure everything's, up to code there for us. So I know we sent the letter to the construction department. Sue told us at the meeting there's been a lot of changes in there, but if we can just bring it to your attention to move it forward. I don't know if you were gonna bring it up during the committee group, but like I figured I'd throw it out there. But that's just one thing that we can try to communicate back and forth that will help between the two sides, because there is some construction going on in that work, and we just want to make sure everything's right.
Thank you.
That's it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And this, I'm sorry, real quick, so that's sewer and water?
Sewer and water, yeah.
Okay. And that does not include Rosemont, though, right? Like,
No.
that's their separate entities?
Separate.
Okay.
Just stuff going on in network with our 180 customers.
Okay, thank you.
You got it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Wiley, live on Lambert Road. I did make a comment, I believe it was in the January meeting, about the desirability of having public information about the planning process that's begun regarding affordable housing. And I'm hoping that the committee has considered a way of educating the public about what the planner is doing, how the process works, what are our obligations, what are the alternatives that are being considered at the appropriate point. But so it may take more than one session. First of all, how does it work and what do we have to do? And then perhaps later on, what are the options when the planner has some better understanding of what the options might be. I think it could be very, with 60 units, if that's what we really have to provide for, there could be a lot of impact that will be concerning to a lot of people. And I think the committee should be very prudent in terms of educating people so that they are given a plan to present to the public in June, when apparently a plan has to be adopted, and no one will know what it means or how it came about. So I think it would be wise to have some kind of information session. It doesn't have to be through the committee, it could be through the planning board or whatever board is most involved in working with the plan. And could I get a response? I'd really like to know if the committee.
Yeah, this has been discussed. We're definitely planning on, once we're at, as you said, the appropriate point.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of people in the community who have a lot of different ideas and want to be heard, so yeah, absolutely.
I just want to say I love the new podium. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Judy?
Judy Allen. I was thrilled to hear that you were meeting out at Dilt's, Justin, about planned improvements to the park area. What are those improvements? We've heard no update on what's going on in the park, a plan. Nobody knows what's going on out there, and I would love to know, where are we? Are we at a bonding stage? Are we at ordered contracts? What is going on?
So, I was not present at the meeting, but Mr. Bauer was present. We had folks from DTAA, Colliers, engineering, and the park planner was there to discuss sort of the timeline on how everything was going to proceed for the year. And it's my understanding from that meeting that they determined, because of the amount of sports that is going to be happening during the spring program, you have baseball, soccer, girls softball, amongst other things, that it would probably be best for the process to begin in the later portion of the summer, early fall. That way that the fall program would have less of an impact because there aren't as many sports going on simultaneously. It also afforded DTAA the possibility of reaching out to other municipalities that participate in the program that, we might need to do more away games at, in your locales versus ours, also utilizing the school fields when they are available. And with that in mind, my understanding is that Colliers is going to be going out to bid in the early part of the summer with anticipation that that process will be completed sometime in July, work to commence in August. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Chad, but they are suggesting that the entirety of the project should be complete by the spring season of the following year.
That's their target, yeah.
That's their
The plan-
target.
the
And
plan
of course,
changed.
weather can have an impact on that time.
Is it being done in phases, do you know, or is it being done like, everything's being turned up at once?
I think that's TBD based on going out to bid and getting the details of the bid. But the plan that he walked us through hadn't changed. It's the same plan that was presented at the firehouse. What we did was we walked the grounds with the engineer to help us better understand where things were going to be. So for example, we looked at the pickleball location. We made sure that we were clear on what we needed to recommend for noise barriers. We took a look at the baseball field. We know that it has to be changed around. So what's in the actual plan didn't change. We looked at it with Seth Buchanan to make sure that, and Mario to make sure that the fields that were recommended become the master soccer field, doesn't conflict. We looked at the pavilion and discussed, is it worth taking it down, or do we need to consider reinforcing it and keeping it as a building that the public could use? He showed us visually from the map and helped us kind of visualize what the parking lot would look like. We talked about the drainage, making sure that the drainage is still, going to run where it needs to run. We talked about the prefab building. So we just talked about everything that was actually in the plan. And the next step there is to go out for bids and start to make some decisions.
Have we bonded for it?
Yes, we did that process. Didn't we complete that process? Oh, we did the ordinance for it.
Yeah, it's ordinance only.
Ordinance only.
Okay. Well, it's great information. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Ryder?
Yeah, just following up on what Judy Ellen had to say. I was a little bit concerned about bonding for a whole project when they were only, I'm talking about the park, only very conceptual estimates of the plan that had been laid out and I guess had been accepted by everybody involved. I would recommend that the engineer prepare a final estimate of, now that they are doing the design, prepare a detailed estimate to confirm that there is enough money before they go out to bid, so you don't get surprised that the bids come in way over the budget in terms of what has been approved in the bond. It's always a good idea in any public process like this. And I think it protects the committee because you have the opportunity to phase things where, maybe there's some overkill here and there in the design. You'll know about that before you get bids and create expectations.
Good, thank you.
I feel as though, real quickly, Mr. Wiley, that it's sort of a chicken and the egg sort of situation. The engineer is providing us with their best estimates of what ultimately they believe them to cost. But obviously the fluctuation in material prices, fluctuation in gas prices, all that, labor prices, et cetera, really comes down to the individual bids that we receive. And if they are beyond the scope of what we have approved, we will pull them back.
Correct.
We're only allowed up to a certain threshold by means of what we already approved.
Can I?
Absolutely. So, well, that's up to the mayor.
Sure. Yeah. I think this is a question of, I'm sorry the engineer is in here, because I looked at the estimates that he provided, and to me, I've been involved in publicly funded projects and working with engineers. To me, what it looked like is what we call a conceptual plan, and therefore a conceptual cost estimate. It was not an estimate based on detailed design. Engineers typically working for public agencies will do another estimate after they have detailed design. And that's part of their service. It's not like a big deal for them. I would really recommend that you ask the engineer again, before you go to bed, what is your current estimate based on your design, your preliminary or final design, wherever they are, just to confirm that before you go to bed, the engineer still thinks it's in the budget, because this is the time, to change things. And I understand what Mr. Waltman referred to. Of course, material prices and everything fluctuates all the time. I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about the difference in the technique that was used to make the estimate between what you had a year ago and what you may have now. I think it would be wise to check on.
Yeah, I mean, I'll comment on that. I think that's kind of the purpose of that walkthrough.
Yeah.
So there were some comments that he shared with us, like they just finished doing some of the plugs to help us understand the level of effort required up against the grading. And it turns out they, I think, went 7 feet and didn't find any rock. So that'll certainly reduce the level of effort on the grading. That was a big concern of his. And looking at that structure, he's going to go back and have to do some assessments to see if it's actually got concrete footings. So a lot of the discussion was about the details of what we were seeing and about the details of what he was collecting. So my understanding is that will be part of his next step. You guys correct me, Justin, Mario. You heard different.
Yeah, I found, I think it was around 3 feet or 7 feet of topsoil.
Yeah.
On top of those fields, so they can reuse a lot of that soil to regrade those fields and regrade those areas. They won't have to bring any dirt into the park, which is a very good thing, and it's gonna help with costs.
Cool. And I haven't spoken to Adam specifically on this, but typically the way that it works is the engineer will provide bid specifications that will be very detailed. That will happen as part of the process, and then associated with that will be a number that will help guide the township committee in making its determination. And if the number exceeds what the estimate is, the township committee has the right to reject that specification because it's out of bid scope. So there is some built-in protection in that the township committee has the ability to reject it. But I suspect that is why they're walking, because typically in bids, the engineer will put together detailed specifications. And I see no reason why that wouldn't occur here.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Moving on. Township Committee liaison reports.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the purchasing challenges that came up earlier. So I'll just kind of level set from what I've seen and be part of a lot of their meetings. They are having challenges with the way that the state law dictates the actual policy or the procedures. Last year what had happened was they were a little bit loose on how we were going back and forth, reviewing and approving and paying out for some of the events that they did. And what was flagged was just the amount of sales tax that we had been reimbursing. And based on that, there was concern about our bond rating being questioned by the DCA, which said, okay, we need to go back and follow what the law says about the purchasing of various items. So Diane has laid out what the state says about what's required for purchasing items for their events. But I will tell you, it's very cumbersome. And so I do think we need to look at a resolution or a solution. I've talked to Diane, I think maybe some of the others have as well. She's brought up ideas that include maybe putting in a rec coordinator that could certainly help her, because on the other end, she's sorting through a lot of the communications to help them make sense of what the policy and procedures are. And it's just creating a bottleneck back and forth. And it's just piling up. So that's how I see in general the issues. I see both sides of what we have to do, but also, I mean, these guys are volunteers and they have a plan, but at the last minute, there's certain things that are going to have to be purchased. So there needs to be something.
Thank you. Is there not a tax exemption for?
Yes.
For
Yes,
committees, commissions to use?
There is, but
purchases?
when you follow the process, there are certain pre-approved vendors that you utilize that will ensure that it doesn't happen. The problem is when a volunteer goes to Costco and makes a purchase on their personal credit card, because it's not a municipal purchase, that triggers the payment of a tax, and then when there's a submission for the reimbursement, it's causing taxpayer funds to pay for a tax that the DCA and our auditor says is not appropriate. So back to what Committeeman Bauer is saying is there's a frustration where volunteers are just trying to get it done and they've laid the money out and nobody disputes it. But the problem is this is a government purchase which has certain rules because there's taxpayer monies that are implicated. and the auditor is, through the pressure from the DCA, is saying, this is verboten, this is okay, and there are certain rules that have to be followed, but it sounds like what you're thinking of is a way to provide additional resource to navigate the red tape that cannot be eliminated. The bottom line is, the red tape that is causing frustration is not going away, and it can't go away. Because it's a requirement, but maybe there's a way to make that painful process less painful, sounds like.
That's exactly.
There isn't a list of 10 or 12 vendors that.
There are, but when people don't go to them and they trigger the tax and they submit it, that creates the problem. If the rules are followed.
I know we're not in public comment section.
No,
I run the fishing derby, and the rule says I have to get a quote from 3 different fish purveyors.
I'm just explaining, I was on a Zoom call with the auditor,
right,
this is not subject for debate.
But
I'm just telling you what the auditor says, that's it, I'm trying to explain.
It's redundant and it's not practical.
No, whether it's redundant, whether it's practical, what I'm saying is there are rules that have to be followed, even if they make no sense.
Could we increase the list of vendors by a few?
It's not a question of that, it's a question of whether the vendor on the list is utilized or not utilized. It's as simple as that. If you have 100 vendors that are approved on a list, and somebody goes to the 101st, it doesn't change the situation. There are vendors that have to be used, and when the process is not followed and a tax is charged, that's what the problem is. So Committeeman Bauer is saying he's going to try and provide the resources to help navigate the rules, because we have to play within the red tape. You're not going to get rid of it.
Then why do we give a blanket amount to the senior group and we don't ask them?
Because there's a specific statute that specifically governs that.
Speaking of redundant, you can shout me down all you want.
I'm not shouting you down, I'm telling you what it is.
Just
sir.
need more vendors. We need
No,
vendors.
so hold on. I think one of the problems here is the fact that a lot of the vendors will not go through the administrative burden of having to take a purchase order from the township, then proceed to bill the township, wait 30 days for us to submit payment back to them. So a Costco's like, we don't want this business. And there's a bunch of them that are like that. So
in all due respect, you could be in line at ShopRite, and it's your turn to check out, and you have a 1099 form, and the cashier goes, okay, you're with a nonprofit. I won't charge you sales tax. Thank you. Next. It shouldn't be that complicated.
But we need the purchasing order, because the auditor needs the paper trail. We are dealing with tax dollars. There is, unfortunately, when you're dealing with public tax dollars, we have a very specific set of rules. For auditing purposes, to protect.
But Jamie, in all fairness, we give the senior group a big lump of money, and we don't ask them now.
Because they're a 501c3, that's what he's saying, they're a 501c3.
There's a special statute that deals
Yes.
specifically with that, specifically with the seniors.
Which is DCA as well.
That alleviates that burden.
I don't know.
There was discussion about that.
For DTAA, we have a document that when I set up a new vendor to buy equipment, because we're a nonprofit, we cannot pay sales tax, same issue. We have a document that our treasurer gives us to send to that company. It has our tax ID number on it, it has our location, all of that. It's like a 2-page document from the IRS. We share that with the company, and then they remove the tax and they send us a receipt. But I need that document from my treasurer to set up to give to that company. So I don't know if that's the same for the township, but when we get that document, it works.
I have to talk to.
There's more than that. I mean, you need W-9s for, people that are, if we're gonna spend more than $600, you need a W-9. There's a number of steps that are required that make it difficult.
Yeah, I think that the difference, Mary, is you're a 50C3.
It's different.
We are.
That's right. That's what makes the DTA process easier, right?
Yeah. But to your point, I had a Zoom call with the auditor and with Diane because of the frustrations that the Rec Commission was experiencing, and I specifically said to the auditor, can we streamline the process? Are there ways to simplify it? And it got a very long answer about no, and here's, and I even said, well, can you reach out to the DCA? And I honestly, this was like 2 months ago, or a month and a half ago, I don't remember specifically. There was something I asked her to reach out to the DCA to get an exception, and they told her no. So I've asked her to come to a township meeting and explain this, because ultimately, at the end of the day, all of this, it's just a conversation that's not going anywhere.
No.
If the auditor says it's black, doesn't matter what anybody says. It's gonna be black, because the auditor is singularly in charge of this issue. If she says yes, we can do it. If she says no, we can't do it, that's the end of the discussion. You can't change it, because she's our auditor. But I just actually, tonight, I asked the clerk, I'm like, what, have we scheduled it yet? But this is a tough time of the year because the budgets are due, and she just doesn't, she said she doesn't have the time to come yet because of the crunch, but as soon as the budgets are done, we'll make sure that she comes, so that to the extent that anybody in the audience has a suggestion like you have, maybe she hasn't thought of something, and then you can prompt her, and if she can sign off on it, we're okay with it. It's just that we have to do what the auditor says. And at the end of the day, I understand the frustration. I saw it in the letters, I saw it in the emails, I heard it in the conversations I had, and I tried to move the needle with her. And she wasn't moving, because she has certain things that she's accountable for as the auditor. And there's very strict regulations when it comes to taxpayer funds. In some respect, as it should, but we'll try. We'll continue to try.
I think your question is, knowing the process is the process, can we look for a solution that we put human capital up against helping these guys? I think that's what
Can't you
would
just,
be the best step
you're
forward.
talking about a process, can't a process be developed that anybody can follow?
Yes.
That's what I
It's-
think most people are asking for.
And it's there.
What's the process?
It's there.
No, not if you don't know how to follow it, not if it's been for not.
Well, there's a difference in wanting to follow it and not
No,
having a process.
I
There's a
want to follow any
process,
process you give me. You give it to me, I'll follow it.
but you're not even part of these conversations.
No, but I'm working with other groups that spend township money as well, and I
Sure.
give it to somebody else to do because I'm not in a position of any authority.
I would respectfully disagree. The process is process, I get that, but when you look at the requirements of this process, they'll tell you that it's very cumbersome. And so I think back to what, the attorney's saying is we need to have the conversation, see if we can find ways to help take the pressure off of that, but in the meantime, maybe putting some human capital against helping Diane and the budgeting group process things a little quicker would bring some resolution.
Diane told me last week that she was gonna set up a petty cash fund for rec. Is that process
Correct.
started yet?
Yes.
I'd have to talk to Diane, but I know after speaking with Steve Spontrich about it, that we are in back and forth and trying to allot him a rolling cash sort of fund that he can utilize, and as long as receipts come back that meet the requirements to release that cash, it's something that can be rolling going forward.
And it's nominal.
But it's nominal,
$100.
but, so that's like the last minute, Snapples for the one event or whatever, right? Or donuts and coffee for the parents. So I think that will help. As Chad had mentioned, there are some ideas that this committee is going to be discussing to allocate human capital to you folks to be able to use that person or persons to be able to submit requests to, where that person could possibly go ahead and submit the PO, get the PO to the proper, organization that you're trying to, or store that you're trying to purchase these items from. So we're working diligently and trying to find a solution that will work for everyone. I just hope that everyone understands that if we don't follow the auditor's rules, we put our bond rating at risk. And that's like a fiduciary duty that we as township committee members have to put first above filling the Easter eggs with candy. I'm sorry, it sounds like the Grinch, but it's the truth. And unfortunately, we want to make sure that both of those things happen. We just have to find out what the proper method to make those things happen properly. So, and I think we'll get there. I really do. We're working very hard on trying to find out that. So, I just asked for, or we asked for just a little bit more time. And hopefully, no events will be affected.
Could the rec committee be a 503C? Is that allowed? Like open space?
I think you actually.
I did. She
Yes.
shot that down.
Yeah, the auditor said no.
Could I have your name?
It's a commission.
Steve Linder.
I feel like this is a discussion that's happening in, pretty much every municipality and school.
Yeah.
This is a common thing, and I know, like, where I work, this drives the business administrator crazy. It's not, I know it's frustrating, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I specifically asked the question of, can we just do a lump sum, and then, just like we do with the seniors, and then let rec do whatever they want with it, and even if they're, and she said, no, can't do it.
Look, I grew up.
That was where I started the conversation, figuring that would be the easiest way to resolve it, just transfer a budget, and then let everything be spent, and the auditor says, no, every single penny spent has to be tied to a purchase order, and that's just the way it has to be, so, there's no way of avoiding that, but that was the starting point.
Yeah, I've worked for the state, and that was just as cumbersome for bigger items to get those purchase orders every time. It's part of the process.
All right. Do you have
That's
anything else to add?
That's it.
All
That's
right.
enough.
So the open space committee had a meeting with our open space coordinator, and actually we spent a lot of time walking through the process for land preservation, because pretty much most of the committee has never actually been through that process, because it's been a long time since we had a coordinator and everybody's relatively new. So we spent a good amount of time walking through, because we want to put that information on our website so that the public understands how the process works as well. Because we figured if we didn't know, if the committee members didn't know, the public probably didn't know as well. And we're also, again, hoping that sometime not too long, this postcard is going out to invite people who might want to preserve their land to contact the coordinator. So that's what we've been spending time on there. Also, I think we already talked about the Open Space Explorers, and that's like off and running. So it started in February, and it'll continue through till close to the end of the year, I think. The Environmental Commission, I guess I'll just invite everyone. We're having a talk on bluebirds. We do it every so often. It's our next meeting on March 19th. The talk's at 7:30, so that's what we're working on there, among other things. As Justin said, the Stormwater Committee, a subcommittee of the Stormwater Committee, met with Justin. We walked the police and public works property, because again, we've been sort of hoping at some point there might be a project there that we can do that will help water quality and stormwater. I think we understand mutually what we're kind of thinking on that. In the meantime, however, Justin did point out that there are a lot of checklist items that would help him with meeting the Tier A requirements of the stormwater permit. So the Stormwater Committee, we're going to take that back to the rest of the Stormwater Committee and see what we can do to help in that effort. And then we're thinking maybe in the longer term, we may be able to either get grant funding or something to do the project that we've been looking at. And it actually may help more in the next phase of our permit, because then we have to do more on perhaps a big stormwater plan for the township, and you can start to take actions to help with that. And the planting plan that we kind of had in our heads would actually help with that in the long run. And then finally, since seniors have come up a bunch, the seniors were unaware that their funding was unclear at this point. They are also trying to plan their, mainly their field trips, because that's where they spend most of their money on their trips, and they only do a couple trips a year, and they rent a bus, basically. So they are, you know, if there's something they need to do, we just need to tell them, because I guess, they've been hearing little bits and pieces, but they really had no idea that their funding was in jeopardy, and so they are basically saying that what they do or don't do with their field trips. I mean, they also have, you know, they also charge people for their events, so their events, some of them, they're partially subsidized by the funding that we provide to them. They also have their dues, and then they also charge for their events, very similar to a lot of what happens with rec events.
Not really. Who are they? We just give them a blind lump of money and nobody knows who they are.
You can go to the meeting and
Yeah, their meetings are open like everyone else.
I don't know who your children are.
Yeah, their meetings are
They're
open.
enrolled in public school.
All right.
No, I don't believe in public school.
Okay, their events, and in fact, just so you know, we actually recommended, because they're supposed to have a member participating on rec, and one of the members there said she had been that member years ago, and then she didn't want to do it anymore, and they asked the seniors if anyone wanted to do that, and we may have a volunteer.
So they have a charter? But who are they? Where
Yeah,
does the money go?
can we stop with the interruption?
That's fine. I apologize.
So, anyway, so if there's something that we want them to do, we just need to tell them. And again, interestingly, I mean, they do sort of have a budget. They do know how much the bus costs. They do know how much the trips are gonna be, you know, and they have to do theirs far in advance. You know, so as I said, because if they're reserving tickets and reserving buses and whatever, like they're talking about their events for again, very similar for the entire year, but they know kind of how much things cost. It's just a matter of whether they're gonna fund it at 100% themselves, or whether there's gonna be a subsidy, basically, from the funding that they get from the township.
I think that's just a question for Diane, she's not.
Yeah, so, because as I said, I believe they have all the information they need. They just need to put it in whatever format we want it, if that's the case, if there's something that they have to do. I think they'll be happy to do it, but I also think, just so you know, that funding, they do consider that funding important for their organization, just putting it out there. But they understand, because we told them that, you know, there may be issues, because I didn't know, there may be issues with, same issues with auditing issues or whatever, and how we do that. So they have been sort of warned, but if they need to know something specific, we need to tell them that as well. And I think that's all I have, because Mario already talked about DTNUA.
All right, thanks, Deb.
Since we're already canonizing Justin for sainthood this evening, I did receive a text today. So I just want to read this out loud. Just want to let you know, whatever we're paying Justin is not enough. That man is amazing. I just want to remind you, you're under contract. This isn't the NFL. We can't renegotiate contracts in existence.
But that text is from his wife, right?
Yeah, right. Very well done. On a more serious note, I've been in contact with JCP&L. I've been back and forth with them about the various issues that we constantly have in the township regarding power outages, trees down, power outages because of the trees, mostly. They have agreed to come to our next township committee meeting, which is April 14th. It will be attended by the dedicated JCP&L rep that I work with regularly, very responsive, very knowledgeable. Whenever I have an issue or I have a resident that is beyond what I would consider a normal restoration time, I'll reach out and she'll send out a dispatcher crew immediately to see what's going on at that particular resident's house. So she's been great. She's coming. She's really the JCP&L front person for the township. But more importantly, she's bringing a dedicated engineer with her that is here to discuss the various local problems that are in existence down on Werman Road and Lower Creek Road, because from my understanding of, if you took the totality of the township and counted the number of outages, a majority of the outages actually occur on those roads. And unfortunately, the last outage on Lower Creek Road resulted in an overvoltage situation that caused a lot of damage to appliances, even if they had surge protectors. So the residents I spoke to the representative, and the representative said, hey, we do have a claims process. Have all the residents submit a claim to JCP&L. I found it amusing how quickly the claim came back denied. So I inquired further and I said, can we find the reasoning behind the almost immediate claim denial? Took a while for me to get a response, but the response was the tree that fell down onto the transmission line that ultimately that fell into the distribution lines, which are all the lines that run to our homes, caused the overvoltage, but that tree was located on a resident's property. It was not within JCP&L's easement, so therefore they were not responsible for the removal of that tree. I did some investigative work, and unfortunately that was in fact the case. So I think, having JCP&L here, not only for you folks to be able to ask them questions regarding the infrastructure or lack thereof that we all believe is unfortunately happening here in the township. If anything, it might be an educational sort of lesson, if you will, that, hey, if there are trees that aren't within the easement and that tree is on your property, ultimately, you should probably do your best to have that tree removed for the betterment of all your neighbors and, keeping the power on, so to speak. So anyway, both of those folks will be attending our next meeting. I did post something online. Mrs. Allen was kind enough to point out that because of the issue being so prevalent here in the township, we might get a lot of folks that want to come and attend and ask questions. We're going to work with the firehouse to see if that's available for overflow. However, I'm not promising anything as of now because unfortunately right now they're gearing up for what was supposed to be the post office build out that hasn't happened, and with the change in administrations and sort of the unknown sort of space that the post office remains in, I'm not sure when that build out's going to begin. But they have done some modifications to the point where I'm not sure whether they can actually host a large overflow group. So we're going to find out whether that's the case, and if we can hold it there, we will. We can reach out to the school as well. Have we ever done that, Diana, as of yet? But we will reach out to the school, see if that's a possibility. And if neither of them are a possibility, obviously we'll be here. We're up to 132 people in here. First come, first serve. Unfortunately, we're going to have to try to tell folks to not come in.
Maybe it'd be a nice night to be outside or something.
Yeah, sure.
Well, can
We
you
can sit out at the green.
Can you put on
Put some lag bolts in it.
Yeah, right.
Put it on Zoom. Put it on Zoom.
That's another issue. I'll talk to the attorney about that. There probably are some issues regarding that and the participation of the public in asking questions, etc. So that is something that I'm going to have to discuss with the township attorney. But anyway, we're taking into account all the available options. I think it's most important we get them here to answer your questions. The one thing I did want to point out is that I'm hopeful, you know, these folks are just agents of JCP&L. They're not the people that are making the decisions to, hey, we're not going to spend millions of dollars to run wires underground, or they're not the ones that say, hey, we're not going to send a forestry crew over to Werman or Lower Creek Road. So I just ask for you to be respectful to them, and they gladly agreed to come here and answer your questions. So let's just be respectful, but at the same time, let them know if you're unhappy. That way that they can take that back to their superiors that are making those decisions. So anyway, that's all I have. So thank you.
All right, Mr. Zadetsky, I'm sorry, it's been a very long day. Getting back to your letter now. So we have a letter from the Friends of Lockdown in Stonehurst asking for a portable toilet from April 10th to October 30th. It will be able to be used starting with their open house and the historical walk, which they hope to open, help with the clean communities cleanup, so do them at the same time, and so that there would be a bathroom available there. And then it would be there throughout the season. So do we have?
So the only point I wanted to bring up, I know we did this for you folks last year. I had to talk to Diane. I'm pretty sure she indicated to me that it was something like $700 a month or something. Does that sound about right? I don't know if you saw an invoice.
That sounds out of proportion, but.
It does to me too, so I want to go back to her and see what the actual figure was.
Our treasurer said it saved us $500.
Okay, so it probably was far less expensive than what I recall. So if you don't mind, Diane is actually on vacation. I think that the committee should probably find out how much it would cost us to have that same service to you folks this year, and if it's within reason, I, as a committee person, would certainly vote yes for it.
No, you want this by April 12th though, right?
We, our first event is, we do an annual cleanup as the trustees, which is on the 12th. We had hoped to combine that with the roadside cleanup through the Clean Community Program, and also to try to host for the Explorers Program that same day. We were informed by Justin that the Clean Community Program does not allow you to combine two events into one day. So that combined, so the Clean Community event has been set up for May the 10th. In order to separate, clear separation between what we're accomplishing on the church property from what we're going to accomplish on township roads.
Okay, so which one is which? I'm sorry. Your event
The
is
12th of
April?
yes, is the way we started, which is why, we put it in there for the 10th.
Understood, okay.
And we hope to host an open house as part of that Explorers program also on the 12th. Once we have the building cleaned up, be available for an hour to give people who want to see this space, who haven't seen it yet, have a historian there to explain the structure and a little bit about the history, and have an opportunity to walk through the building and enjoy it.
Okay. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe we can do a resolution up to or something for even just a 1 month.
That's what I was gonna say.
Can we give one quote for like fishing derby and?
Wait, why are we interrupting again?
Porta potties we use for every
That's not how it
township
works,
event.
Devin.
But if we could do
Excuse
one
me.
quote for every event,
Tim.
we could save money.
Tim,
Okay.
we have the chief of police right here.
Chicken wing. We're trying to save money.
So,
Maybe up to, $250 for the event. I don't know how much porta potties cost. Do you know, Justin?
I'll tell you from being a business person who ordered them up for drill crews on remote sites, there's a initiation fee, a mobilization, and a demobilization fee. So generally, you end up spending, I've been retired since 2017, but you end up spending like 75 or so bucks to get the thing dropped off.
Uh-huh.
And then it's a weekly rate, and the weekly rate
Okay.
is not
It's like
very
40
expensive.
a week.
There we go.
Okay. So
Plus,
if we
plus
can-
paying for the thing to be there, so. it's-
Okay, so if we authorize up to $250, that should be sufficient for that single event. And then we can have a formal vote as to the extension of that well into your October concert.
That makes sense, then you don't have to, you'll address it in time.
Yes.
You can make it 300 just to make sure.
Okay.
And if I could just interject again, I wrote the letter because I thought you must go through an annual process for DTAA. You've got these
Yes.
guns being dropped off, and you must do some kind of a bulk deal with them. So I just wanted to have that letter out there, so in your planning process, that we could be in line, if
No.
we fit with your objectives.
No, we certainly appreciate the letter, and listen, we're trying to make sure that we accommodate you and all the events that you hold, so I think this is the proper means by which to accomplish that. We'll have, I'm gonna make a motion for, to authorize up to $300 for the purpose of a porta potty to Lock Townstone Church for their April 12th event.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call, please.
David Bond, Chad Bauer.
Yes.
Susan Lockwood.
Yes.
James Baldwin.
Yes.
And Mayor Wolf.
Yes.
Motion
You're welcome. And then we'll obviously address the full concert series prior to our next meeting. That way we can put it on the agenda and vote appropriately.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, that's it, then we're moving on to executive session. All right, thank you. Good night, everybody.
A motion to go into executive
Motion
session
to executive.
to discuss contract negotiation and update on pending litigation.
So moved.
Second. Thank you.
All
All
in
in
favor?
favor?
Aye.